Hi, everybody. Our chapters are getting shorter and shorter today. We're going to listen to all 4 chapters together on the same video. All right. Here is chapter 42 from Joe's perspective. We left off on a little bit of a cliffhanger. I'll remind you where we ended yesterday. Well, if he didn't write it, who did? Asks Dylan, looking around the room. I, Ravi, wink at him and smile. I did, I say. Chapter 42, from Joe's perspective. He cheated, shouts Dylan. That's why I couldn't guess it. What do leeches have to do with quitting? Would you like to come up to the front of the class and tell us how the two things are connected, Ravi? Personally, I would have been sweating bullets if Mrs. Beam made me stand up in front of everybody like that. But Ravi doesn't seem nervous at all. In fact, he looks happy. He pushes up his glasses and clears his throat like he's about to give a speech or something. I'm listening, but I'm also keeping my eye on Dylan in case he tries to mess with Ravi's leeches while he's busy giving his speech. Quitting is not an option, Ravi says. This is what my father taught me and what his father taught him and what I will teach my own son someday too. Big deal, says Dylan. What does that have to do with leeches anyway? I told you he cheated. Shh, says Mrs. Beam. Go on, Ravi. Ravi pushes up his glasses again. I haven't prepared anything else to say, but I could tell you a story, if you'd like. Chapter 43, maybe we'll hear Ravi's story. I rub my nose and push up my glasses. My hands are shaking a little, so I fold them together the way we were taught to do in elocution class at Vidya Mandir. For many generations, my family has worked with tea, I begin. When my grandfather was a young man, he worked in the tea plantations. His job was to protect the tea pluckers from wild animals that might be lurking nearby. I look around the room. Everyone is listening. Some are even leaning forward in their seats. I decide to bring a bit more drama into the story by adding a few details Paripa had not included in his version. Have you ever been attacked by a porcupine or a wild boar? I ask, pawing the ground with my foot. Have you ever seen a panther crouching in the grass ready to pounce? Or been stuck in the middle of a war between 2 angry elephants? I pause and look around the room for dramatic effect. All those years of elocution lessons are really paying off. Imagine it is the monsoon season, I say. Imagine the ground is still wet from heavy rain. A perfect hiding place for the most dangerous creature of all. More dangerous than the porcupine or even the panther. This animal can latch onto you and bite through even the toughest flesh with its 300 razor-sharp teeth. What the heck? Says Jax. Be quiet, Caleb Burrell tells him. I want to hear about the teeth. This is no time to lose momentum, so I take a deep breath and dive back into the story. Well, my grandfather battled these tiny Draculas in disguise every single day. Imagine yourself plucking tea under a hot sun when suddenly you realize you are surrounded by black worms waiting to fix themselves to your body and drain your blood out. Look! There's one between your toes. Be careful. There's one behind your ear. Believe me when I tell you, these dreaded leeches can even crawl up your nose. Just as my story is building to its climax, I am interrupted by a loud, choking sound. A moment later, the air is filled with a horrible smell. Check it out, shouts Dylan Samreen. Emily Mooney just threw up. Oh no! All right, let's see what happens. Chapter 4, from Joe's perspective. Apparently all that stuff about giant blood-sucking leeches climbing up your nose got to Emily and she barfed up her breakfast. Kids are running around screaming, Dylan is laughing, Emily is crying, and Mrs. Beam is calling the office to tell them to send the custodian down to room 506 quick with a mop. I feel bad for Ravi. He was having such a good time up there telling his story, and now all anybody can think about is Emily's barf. Miss Frost was right. It must be really hard coming all the way from India to New Jersey, especially when you have to deal with somebody calling you names and stealing your pencils, not to mention hitting you on purpose with a softball. I look at that beautiful blue peanut M&M sitting, beautiful blue double peanut M&M sitting in the bowl in front of me, and whoop, zoop, sloop. All of a sudden, I get this great idea. Chapter 45, from Ravi's perspective again. The smell of the vomit is overpowering. Girls are screaming, Emily Mooney is crying, and Dylan Samreen is laughing his head off. Mrs. Beam tells me to return to my seat. Then she asks us to take out our copies of Bud, not Buddy. We'll go the library and read until the custodian has had a chance to clean up. When we return, we can continue with our game. Poor Curryhead, says Dylan as I take my seat. His speech was so bad the audience puked. I ignore him and pull out my copy of Bud, not Buddy. That's when I notice a folded up scrap of paper lying on the desk beside the jar of leeches. I unfold it and read, "Beware, do not touch the jar. Trust me, Joe." It has been a day full of surprises, and it seems there will be one more. And that's where we're going to leave off for today. Oh, on another cliffhanger. Tomorrow we're going to finish our book. And I can't even think of how this is going to end up. I don't know what the surprise is going to be. We'll have to stay tuned. See you tomorrow.